Nothing much sense, like. No.
Yeah, so let me start. Okay. Let me record this session.
Good evening, sir. I had the business analyst class, so it just got over now.
Yeah, so let's start. This is the, let me record it also. Am I audible to all of you? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Let me share the screen. So from today, we will be talking about the database for next 2 to 3 weeks, where we will be discussing about SQL, PLSQL, and and also NoSQL. These are the important databases we have to understand. This is useful for web developer and as well as the people who are working in the data analyst job, data science job, and data engineering job. For all of them, because database is one of the crucial part of any system, probably we have to have the foundation of like what is data, how does that data will be stored, okay, and also they should have, okay, what are the different types of databases we have, and also we have to understand like, okay, uh, how do we certify the data, and because and along with the database, we should nowadays, it is an era of the unstructured data. We call it as a NoSQL data. So because of all these things, the database is more important. Most probably, like we will be discussing foundation today because most of the people from various forums joined through the YouTube or so directly here. And we want you people to start with the beginning. Probably few people already have an idea, but as the time progresses, you'll be able to understand what is SQL, what is DDL, DML, DSL, DCL, and also you are going to appreciate about what we call it the PLSQL, where programming language for SQL, where we are talking about procedures, triggers, and also like a cursors. All these things are important when you talk about SQL and NoSQL. When the interview perspective, if someone wants to attend the interview, most probably majority of time, irrespective of the background, it is whether they are the web developer or data analyst, the joins are most important part of the system. where if you want to collect the data from various forums, and then we have to write a joins, different types of joins we are going to understand. So that's why from today, we are trying to appreciate daily. It will be 7 to 8. Okay, people can join this session. Weekly 4 to 5 sessions will be there. And next 3 weeks, we are going to conclude the foundation related to a database where you can appreciate, okay, like how the database is contributing towards all these things. Practically, we will try to execute the queries so that you can able to understand. Now, as usual, what is data? So usually, as a definition, we are talking about it is a raw facts or figures without any context. I can say that, right? For example, when we want to have the employee database, the employee database in the sense, assume that you are working for some university. In university, there are various departments are there. Various the departments has different courses, and within the courses the students may be enrolled. This is a one structure. If I want to store such informations, okay, I have to understand foundation that, okay, what is data, what is database, what is RDBMS, all these things we have to understand. When you talk about data, data is nothing but it is a raw facts or the information which has a implicit meaning. Implicit meaning in the sense which has you do not require to redefine once again. For example, employee number. Everyone able to appreciate, understand, okay, what is employee number? If I say department number, no one required to explain further what is department number. That means, as a layman, as a common man, they can able to visualize without knowing the concept of data itself or database itself. Such informations we call it as a data. So that means what is your name? So name means everyone able to understand, right? So that is nothing but we should not require to explain further. Such information we call it as a data. What are the different types of earlier days we used to talk about only structured data or file system. But because of modern trend, modern world, okay, and nowadays people are talking about data analytics and data engineering part. And through data, we are trying to work on the various machine learning algorithms. Because of that, we have different types of data. It may be a structured data, it may be a semi-structured data, or unstructured data. So we have different categories of data. So structured means data is represented in the form of tabulation. If you have seen that, okay, anyhow, you will be able to understand. SQL, whatever the data we are going to store, it is in the form of like a number of rows and number of columns and table names. So that is what structured data. And when we are working with web applications or exchanging of the information, the data will be exchanged either in the form of XML or JSON format. So that is semi-structured data. Whereas unstructured in the sense, like it may be videos, it may be images, or someone has reviewed, given the comments. So that is a text. So this is called as a unstructured data. So all three type of information we call it as a data only. So that means name, age, address, product price. Okay, all these things are information we call it as a data, which is also called as it is a known fact which has a implicit meaning. So if you once you understand data, now how do you logically group such information? Okay, if I want to perform certain operations, then definitely we have to groups in such a way that I can operate instead of each field, I can operate on the one certain set actually. So that is how database is evolved. It is nothing but a collection of organized data that allows easy access and retrieval of management. As usual, database is nothing but what is nothing but organizing the information. Okay, for example, if I go to the let me go here. If I have a employee number, employee name, okay, and like a salary, okay, these are the some of the information. Also, if you go for employee, okay, department, So all this information, for example, you have a student number, STD number in the university, or we call it as a roll number, I can say that. Okay. Similarly, if I want to have a library ID, something like that. All these things are, we call it as a data. But when you group this data logically, so we are talking about, okay, employee database. Assume that employee database. So when you say employee database, we may create employee table, and I may logically, which are related to one another. For example, employee number, employee name, salary will be there for employees, not for student. Employee may be working in the department. Okay. So likewise, I can come up with, this is a employee database. That means this is a database which is logically grouped. Such information we call it as a database. Then we have another term called, we as usual, DBMS, database management system. So when you say management, as usual, every time, wherever you go there, it is nothing but CRUD operation only. That is nothing but creation. In this context, we are talking about creation of data, okay, reading of data, update, that is nothing but modification of the data, and removal of data. So that means we have all these things are the creation of data we have, reading of data is there, modification of data is there, and also removal of data is there. This is called database management system. So when you have a database management system, that means we are operating on employee database, or it may be a student database, where student database having the roll number, okay, name, okay. Then it may be a scholarship for a student. He may be enrolled for a certain course. Okay. So all these things part of a student database. If I want to manage this, that means like how to insert a record to the student, how to modify a student details, how to remove certain entries of the student records. So all these things is a part of the management system. So next, the another buzzword people are talking about in databases, RDBMS, which was the de facto standard like MySQL, SQL Server, okay, Oracle, okay. All these things are, we call it as a RDBMS packages, RDBMS packages. What is this actually? We call it as a relational database management system. As you know that, so this is the, we call it as any database systems. Any database system follows 12 rules of card we referred as RDBMS packages. So what are those RDBMS packages which follows 12 rules? So these are, it may be MySQL, SQL Server, Oracle. Tomorrow, we may come up with some XYZ. If follows the rules of RDBMS, then this is also a RDBMS package. So that is what you have to understand. So that means we have understood like, okay, what is data, what is database, and what is database management system. And in the database system, we'll come back, okay. So relational database we were talking about. So what is the, if you look at the DBMS, people are talking about the various different types of database systems, hierarchical, network, relational database system, object-oriented database system. So these are the some of the examples. So now we are talking about relational database. That means this is not the only database system we have. We have hierarchical IBM IMS, network DBMS, IDMS, but popular relational database, since we are using MySQL, PostgreSQL, Oracle, all these things. So that's why we are discussing here. And sometimes people are started using the object-oriented database. So that is also currently available actually. Now, once we understood what is the importance of RDBMS, so RDBMS packages helps you. It follows 12 rules that we are going to discuss in few minutes. But what are the advantages people are using? Why are we using this? It reduces the redundancy. So we are also going to discuss about normalization in detail, because most of the interview questions will be based on normalization concept, at least one or two questions. And when you are designing the database in the real time, this concept is important, and also it will be helpful. And supports for complex queries. And nowadays, security, the data integrity is more important. Also, security and data integrity means inconsistency with respect to data should not happen when joining the two records or something like that. And so the last part, we are talking about a database system. It is a combination of database. There may be a DMS, a DBMS software or application that interacts with the database system. For example, banking database. So it is having the voluminous large data. Such systems we call it as a database systems. If you have a small data, then it is called as a DBMS. But when you are talking or approaching, today we are talking about trillions of records, okay? Those are all part of the database system. That means we have understood what is data, what is database, what is RDBMS, and also we have understood what is database system. When you come to the database systems, we have to maintain servers, storage devices, softwares, stored information. For example, when you talk about the railway reservation database, it is a huge database, right? So when you are talking of such data, we call it as a database system. And we are talking about a small application or ERP package, that's we talk about only simple database system. In that one example, can talk it as a relational database system actually. So when you look at the journey, okay, first it started with a relational database. Okay, relational database we started in 1970. Dr. Edgar F. Codd, he introduced this concept, and finally people have started following this actually, because it is important to understand the history when we are getting into the implementation part. So just for a few minutes, let us try to understand the journey so that you will be appreciate how database journey made us transition till AI, artificial intelligence today. And without this, we could not able to achieve this, because finally data is the key, and that has to be stored as a part of the information. And Dr. Edgar F. Codd introduced this concept, and Oracle in 1970s, IBM systems, Oracle systems are the earlier people who implement the database system. Still, I remember someone who learned Oracle in our early stages. We considered, okay, he is an expert. Okay, now everyone knows that. Okay, but at that time, to learn Oracle itself is we are thinking it is a big database system. Okay, a big thing to learn. Okay, but now it is not like that. Everyone knows all different kinds of database, and there is a lot of study material. Everything is available, and finally we have understood if you learn SQL, you can learn any packages. And 1986, the SQL 86 has been established to make this SQL standard, which is storing the information to the database and retrieving the information to database, modification of information. They brought a lot of what is called the standards. And 1990, like Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL, PostgreSQL, IBM DB2, all people are started competing, and they started releasing the database to store the information. Till that time, people are used to store in the file system, and slowly we are migrating towards the database systems actually. And after 2000 onwards, so people are focusing on the better optimization, asset compliance, and all these things. Because of that, okay, today we can see the database is so much evolved. This is the one direction of relational database. Suddenly, we started talking about the textual information. Okay. Earlier days, whatever the information we wanted to get, we wanted to translate into the database in the form of relational. But suddenly people have started talking about the one more information, we call it as a NoSQL. Don't get confused what is NoSQL. NoSQL is nothing but not only SQL. Please remember, majority of people have a confusion regarding the NoSQL. They assume that, okay, other than SQL is a NoSQL. No, it is the advancement of SQL is also there. On top of it, it is supporting for the textual information, how to retrieve a text. So how to modify the text, how to index the text. So that is what we are talking about NoSQL. That's why NoSQL is also abbreviated as not only SQL. And nowadays, people after 2000, people are talking about NoSQL and many NoSQL, what we call it as a databases are evolved. And today we can see that whatever the like a expectation on relational database, similar to that, okay, we want to be expertise in the NoSQL. Anyhow, after the relational database, we are going to discuss about NoSQL, where I may be taking the like a MongoDB as an example, and I can demonstrate you how documents and all those things collections will work, okay? But at this moment, keep in short, I am talking about the NoSQL. So as a web application grew, limitation of traditional relational databases for certain use cases become evident, because here we have to follow the rules, strict rules in the sense that, okay, we have to represent the data in terms of table, rows and columns. But in reality, sometimes it is not possible. And because of that, we were looking into that, how to access a textual kind of information. And because of that, the people have started talking about the NoSQL. So 2000 to 2010, NoSQL movement emerged as a response to handle unstructured and large-scale data. What is unstructured data? It may be XML data, it may be JSON data, it may be textual data. Okay, so that is sometimes if you, but JSON and XML sometimes we call it as semi-structured, but textual information absolutely it is a what we call as unstructured data. In 2008, to manage this, like a Apache Cassandra, there some people may work on the Cassandra. In Amazon, the cloud, they have introduced the DynamoDB to as the beginning of NoSQL era, and like this, this is started evolving. And 2010, you can notice that, okay, MongoDB, it is going to store in the form of documents. And instead Redis, the data will be stored in the form of key value. Column family stores, so that is nothing but prominent to give the column HBase. Graph databases where you can having the relationship establishment from one object to the another object. We call it as a graph database. Neo4j is one among them. So likewise, the NoSQL provides a lot of flexibility, scalability in the real-time environment. Similar to that, if you move further, okay, we have graph databases, okay, based on the graph theory influenced by database modeling, many social networks and complex data relationship. If I want to establish, we need one database that is called graphical database, okay, and Neo4j is one among them. People are started using in 2007, and this is also one of the prominent database system where recommendation engine, social networks, organizational structures, if I want to represent, this type of databases may help you. So that means we are talking about only relational database, but in the world, as a data engineer or a data analyst or a web developer, if they want to work, there are a lot of different types of database systems will be there. And based on the requirement, people start using it. So we are giving the exhaustive information about this. So that is what we are discussing.
Sir,
Yeah.
so this graph database is a kind of a NoSQL database?
So all are NoSQL database, almost JSON or NoSQL kind of a semi-structured databases. Yeah. Am I able to? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm audible, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So anyhow, so I will show some examples if required. Okay. At this moment, let us focus on our journey. So Neo4j, yes, good question you have asked. It is built on graph theory. If you go to the Neo4j, if you type, you can see the how hierarchical and connection between one object to the another object. They represent through the different JSON kind of objects. Okay, we will see that. Columnar database, like for example, just I wanted to give one thing. Okay, this is the Snowflake. Nowadays, it is more popular. Amazon Redshift. This is one more. Okay. These are all like a big data when we are talking about. Like a columnar databases are more prominent. Why? Let me go here, just explain. Okay. Assume that, okay. Now, how the people are storing in the this one, for example, it is a employee database. When you have a employee database, I may store employee number, EMP name, okay, age, salary, grade, something like that. So, or designation, something like that, we can store it. Now, the question is here, okay, what is the size of employee table? What if even if you are storing in as a records here, maybe 1001 Ramesh, okay, some age 30, 23 or something, 10,000, okay, grade A, something like that, maybe some XYZ designation, like this is there. Likewise, if I try to do like insert so many records, assume that after 5 years, after 5 years, this database table grow to the extent, so maybe having so many trillions of records. Now, question is, if I want to retrieve some select star from employee, okay, where, okay, employee number is equal to some number. So searching on this maybe trillions of data and I have to find this record, it takes performance hindrance. That is one challenge. Another challenge is there will be a limitation for this. There will be a limitation for this because the size of the table every time I have to keep increasing. And that was the limitation when you go for this is called okay, when we are storing this is how the hierarchical representation people are talking about. So we usually scaling the data. One is vertical. That means now whatever you are showing is vertical. Another one is horizontal information. Now, many servers, we will come back to that. Many servers nowadays, if you see cloud, what they are doing, okay, so they will keep one node. In this one node, I may keep some records, okay, maybe employee number 1000, 1 to 10,000 records. Roughly, I'm talking about in node 1. Suddenly, I want 10 lakh one record. Then I may take one more node. I may take one more node, 2. There I will be taking 10 lakh one record to 20 lakh, something like that. I can do that. Similarly, like this node 3, if some the database object to be increased, okay, I may go to the next node 3. So here I may be coming with 10 lakh. Okay, sorry, 20 lakh one record to something else. So it is keep on increasing. But earlier days, when you go for the relational database, if the size of the, what are the memory of hard disk you have, that much size only, the maximum the table can consume. But in the real-time world, data is given the more prominent and it is keep improving. Like I say, data size keep increasing. And because of that, instead of doing this type of model, they come up with a horizontal scaling. That means node 1 is filled, they will go to node 2 and they will put node 3. And if I want to do the computation of the total salary, I can write a parallel query. Here one query, one I can write. Same query I can execute here also. Same query I can write in the node 3 also, so that parallelly the query will be processed and the response will be very fast, and aggregating that I can get the actual result. So this is how currently people are working, especially in the cloud kind of environment. So because of that, okay, the people are talking about different types of data representation. And also like when we are working with like certain columns, all columns are not important. For example, in node 1, I can just keep employee number with employee salary, because I want my focus area is that only. That means what I'm talking about is here, like for example, okay, so I want to do some analysis or analytics, data analytics. Okay, in that situations, I may focus only on in the employee column. I want to focus only on the salary. So then I can make one this one column and salary I can group, and then I can focus on this column. So that means for that also we have to do the like a modification in the database. So that is how the nowadays you can see that columnar databases are also existed. So like a Snowflake, Amazon Redshift, Google BigQuery, all are okay brought the columnar storage to cloud-based data warehousing. So this is the central part to the analytics data warehousing, and because of that you should understand what is columnar database also. Similarly, if you want to like with respect to time, okay, I want to know the trend in the sense what is the behavior of data. Like I'm getting the data through some sensors, IoT devices, all these things, and then we call it as a time series data. So that means it is also helpful for analyzing a time series data with respect to your time. We are going to analyze this. So this is also one different types of database. So that means till now we were thinking that only we have maximum relational database. No, but we have not only SQL, NoSQL is there, graphical representation of data is there, graph database is there, columnar database is there, time series databases are there in the market. So, but next 2 weeks we are focusing on relational database so that you can understand, because most of the data currently available in the relational database, and if required to analyze, we collect the database and we push to the by writing some certain queries, and then after that we are doing the certain analytics. So that's why like people whenever they go for data analytics interviews or like any web developer interviews, their first foundation they want to understand is SQL. So that is what we are going to learn in next 3 weeks. Any questions from anyone or any questions? Yeah. Bharati, Anshi, Mukta, Rihana, any questions, please?
No, sir.
So able to follow?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now we have understood the importance of database. Now let us start with the relational database. Relational database, as I said, okay, like MySQL is there, Microsoft SQL Server is there, Postgres SQL is there, okay, and like other various other databases are there, and you can notice that okay, all the databases are available, and that will be stored in the relational format. For example, online store for a database, customers information, order information, and products information. If you want to store, we can represent. As I said, okay, if I want to appreciate this, what is expected is we have the Edgar F. card come up with the 12 rules, and those 12 rules we have to understand. We will understand that 12 rules in the layman terms, that means in the simplified terms, rather than too much complicating, so that you should be having a strong foundation of understanding the cards. People will talk about definitions. Don't worry about definition, but those definitions no one will, but you should have an idea what are those rules, okay? And with respect to this, what this cards has done, okay, he introduced 12 rules to define a true database. If you want to say that true RDBMS package, he is telling that, okay, claiming that This has to follow the 12 rules. For example, let me take a simple scenario, university student management system, because which is universally people can able to understand. So here it may be having students may be student ID, name, age, city, and course ID. Course may be courses ID, course name, department. Results may be result ID, student ID, course ID, and marks and grade. Like this may be university student management system, may be having three databases, which is nothing but students database, courses database, and as well as a results database. Now, if I want to understand further, so we can add this type of records there and we can maintain. The first rule we are talking about is rule 0. That is nothing but a foundation rule. The database must follow all traditional rules to be called an RDBMS package using SQL queries and structured table and relationship. Okay, they are telling that okay, the foundation rule says that okay, if you want to say RDBMS package, you have to follow relational rules. What are those relational rules? Rule 1 says information rule. Okay, so what is information rule talks about? All data must be stored in tables. No one will ask in the interview, but for the foundation purpose, I wanted to, if you are from non-IT or if you are from other background, if you want to have a better clarity on the database system, better to have at least what it is. Okay, I do not expect you people to memorize this, but as an information, since you people are day, night as a data analyst or a web developer, keep on using the database system. It is the duty to understand that what is this actually. So that's why just quickly I wanted to give overview on that. First one is rule 1, information rule. What is information rule? All data must be stored in tables. So that means this data information should be stored in the tables. Example, student table stores the data in rows and columns. The information rule says that, okay, any information, if you want to represent, there should be a rows and columns. So that is what it is telling. The information rule says telling that employee database. So when you say employee database, so employee database may be like this. Okay, so you can create a table. So test 1, 2, 3 or employee. Okay, and if I want to apply, so we can create something like this. Okay. Okay, so let me take quickly one record. Anyhow, we will learn this syntax slowly. Don't worry about the syntax at this moment. So in the matrix table, so I will refresh this. So there is a employee table. So there is a columns. Let me insert few records. Don't worry about this, what it is. Just I am talking about. So this is information rule. What is information rule says that there should be a information like a matrix DB is the database and employee is the table. In this table, data should be represented in terms of matrix format. That is rows and columns. Employee column, first name column, last name column. This is a column. Similarly, John Doe, HR, he is a salary. Jane Smith, this one. Sam Brown, finance. So these are the record. This is the first rule we are trying to understand. What is information rule? Information rule says that, okay, all data must be stored in the form of tables. MySQL is following. That's why this is a relational database. Guaranteed access rule. Second rule says that, okay, guaranteed access rule. That means each page of data must be accessible using table name, primary key, and column name. Okay, so that means when student ID is equal to 101, it means that 1001, this is the primary key. Okay, primary key by using table name. So this is where results is a table. So we are able to retrieve that. That means each piece of information can be accessed through the reference of table name, primary key and column name. What is primary key? You don't worry. It is a unique and not null. We will discuss later. But at this moment, this is another rule, guaranteed access rule. So similarly, systematic treatment of null values when records are empty. So each database, or who call it as a MySQL, PostgreSQL, or Oracle SQL, okay, these people have to define what do you mean by null, okay, missing value or unknown information, how to represent that definition should be there. That is what we call it as a systematic treatment of a null values. Similarly, rule 4 says that a dynamic online category. So that means dynamically we can query to the table. Yes. Dynamically we can access the database. That kind of facility should be available as well. Similarly, comprehensive data sub-language rule. Like for example, must support language like SQL for querying. So that means there should be a language to access the data or retrieve the data. So whatever the query we are going to write, so some language rule should be there. That is what we are talking about here. Similarly, any views, we will talk about this also. Don't worry at this moment. Like if you create certain views through certain syntax, if you want to modify, it can be updatable. So underlying layer also should be updated. At this moment, don't worry too much what is views. So anyhow, there is a topic to discuss on that. Similarly, high-level insert, delete, update. User can perform multiple records insertion, multiple records update, multiple records deletion. Those type of facilities also available. And physical data independence. It means that, okay, I took MySQL and I am using suddenly I wanted to change the storage structure or enhance the structure. It should not affect for the existing records which is already available. So that is why our upgrading to the next level, it should not affect to the database. That is what we call it as a physical data independence. Similarly, logical data independence means if I change the structure of a table, should not affect the application. So that means adding an email column should not break the existing queries. It means that, for example, if you want to add one more column here, it should not affect the other columns, and already some queries already available in the application that should not be affected. So that is the meaning of logical data independence. Similarly, integrity data independence, when you talk about like a conditional check, okay, stored in the database, not application code, just altering a table, like a table, like whenever you are modifying or something like that, we have some check constraints. It is going to check during insertion, deletion, update. So we can introduce such type of the integrity checks to avoid further damage. So that's why that is also available. So that's why it is called as a integrity independence. Distribution independence, okay. Nowadays it is an era of storing the data in multiple nodes, okay. Multiple communication is happening, and that is also should work without affecting the existing the information. So that's why distribution independence is also one of the important rule. And non-subversion rule, like for example, it is a direct access to a files, should not bypass any relational rules. Like for example, if you want to insert a record manually also, programmatically also, the same rule should be there. It should not change in different during insertion. I'm able to do that, but when I want to look at that, I'm not able to access. So those type of the information exchange is also one part of rule. So that is called non-subversion rule. This EF card define this, if you want to say true RDBMS package, he ensured that, okay, data integrity, consistency, security, and efficiency are quite evident if you follow these rules. And because of this principle, so whatever we initially we were talking about the university student management, that can be considered as a what we call as a true RDBMS package. So any questions here, please? Any questions from any one of them? Ansi, Bharati, Mukta? Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah,
so regarding this null value,
yeah.
so while creating a table, can we set like this column cannot be null or this could be null like that?
There is a constraint concept is there that we are going to discuss, madam. Okay,
Okay.
that is possible. Like for example, primary key values cannot be null. Okay, if you don't
No.
give it, it will not accept only.
No.
Okay, like this,
Just
we
like
call it as a constraints. That is nothing but there are 5 different types of constraints are there. We are going to discuss as a topic maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow sessions.
okay.
Okay, any other questions from anyone? At least all of you are able to follow. Yes,
Trying to, sir, yes.
any confusions from anyone? No, right? Okay, shall I proceed?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay. That means we have understood till this now. Quickly, if you summarize, what is data, what is database, what is RDBMS, what are the different types of databases systems are available. Then we were discussing about RDBMS packages. In that, when you want to say relational database system, what are those rules? So that we have understood. And finally, why are we learning relational database as a data analytics or analyst or like a data engineer, also as a web developer? The reason behind is almost 60 to 70% of the data is available in the RDBMS. And we know that we have expertise, we have developed almost from 3 to 4 decades, okay, how to manage this data on the relational database. And because of that, it is most important for us to understand this actually. When you talk about relational database, that's why data organization structure, it may be a school database, or it may be like a university database or bank database. The data should be organized in such a way that anyone can able to understand better. Similarly, data integrity ensures that, okay, the security related, if data should not be inconsistent across the tables. So that is nothing but data integrity. Querying and retrieval is also most important. Flexibility is important. Okay, if I want to modify in between, I can modify and provide for business support. Scalability, the more and more data is available, then more and more nodes can be added without disturbing the process. And like also like a consistency, like if some power failure happens or something, automatically it should roll back or something like that. That is called ACID properties. ACID transactions should also be there. And likewise, because of all these such that topics, the relational database is more important to learn actually. The finally, our objective is to learn, okay, the SQL. So here SQL, we have to talk about what is this? It is a domain specific language for managing a relational database. So always look into that. Okay, if you go to the browser, okay, web browser, what is the language it is communicating? Through JavaScript. If you go to our laptop or the desktop machine, what it can understand is machine level language. That is nothing but binary 0 and 1. Similar to that, okay, if you want to talk to a database, a relational database, it can understand only one language that is called SQL. So that means structured query language. So what is the purpose of this? If I want to do operation on whatever the data I wanted to store, manage, retrieve, update, anything, any operations, if you wanted to do that, I have to use the SQL syntaxes. It may be you are a developer, you may be a database administrator or data analyst. For all of them, this language is more important. That's why we consider this as a part of a foundation. So that we are talking as a foundational course actually. And what are the history in SQL? If you look at this, early days, like in 1970s, SQL is started, originated when EF card relational model is coming to picture. Initially, we call it as a SQL. structured English query language. Okay, that is how they used to call. That's why they call it as a SQL. Now slowly it becomes a, when English was silent, then it becomes a structured query language. And after 1980s, they want to standardize this. They call it as a ANSI standard, and they adopted the standardized process so that the what we call it as a the providers of this the database like MySQL, PostgreSQL, or SQL Server, whoever it may be, they have to follow these rules so that there should not be a lot of gaps to transfer from MySQL to a PostgreSQL to the Oracle. So it is only because of that, okay, of this standardization, we could able to do that. And vendor specific extensions also, their database vendors created SQL dialects, how to read, write, just it is a small drivers or a programs to interact with these database. We have seen that. Similarly, like a object-oriented recursive queries, more those things also introduced, and NoSQL and big data influence also there. And people are talking about NoSQL. How are we writing the queries? Similarly, we can write the for NoSQL content also. So that is the level we have reached actually. And because of all these things, SQL remains critical in data management, analytics, and administration. So because of all these things we are using as of now in the SQL world. So any questions before conclude for today's session, because we may be having next session from 8 p.m. For foundation of C programming. So any questions here? Yeah. Okay. So quickly I will finish this so that we can topic can be completed. Asset properties. Okay, this is the common term because people get confused because you people are new to this. Okay. Since most of the people when they do the data analytic course, they miss the what foundation. Just they start learning big jargons, but finally they fail in the interview because they don't understand what is the foundation. Foundation is much more important, and on top of it we can construct any. If you have a basement very strong, we can build in any number of floors actually. So that's the reason even small words I wanted to explain here. The first, assuming that you people never had an idea about any idea about any jargons. So that one among them is asset property. What is asset properties? Is nothing but it ensures reliability against a failure. Please remember, reliability means this term you should always think, oh, this is against a failure. Consistency of database transaction. 100 times you query, same results you should get it. So that is the consistency. So this will be explained through asset properties, atomicity, all or nothing. Okay. Either if it is a 3 queries to be executed, all 3 queries should be executed, or all 3 queries are removed. For example, if you order a food online and the payment fails, assume that payment last part is failed. The order should be cancelled. Payment details should be cancelled. Everything should be no partial transaction. That is called atomicity. Okay. Or all or nothing. So you always remember. Next is consistency. Okay. Ensure the database remains in a valid state before and after the transaction. So that means in a bank, if your account has a 5,000, your withdrawal of rupees 6,000 should be rejected. Okay. So that kind of consistency should be there. Okay. So that consistent, that is a valid state. Isolation ensures that multiple transactions do not affect each other. Okay. If 2 people trying to work on the same table and there should not be worried. For example, employee database, some person may be working on same employee database, another person is also working on same table, but still we should not having the like interference among each other. Actually, that is no interference. Durability, once the transaction is committed, it is permanently saved, even if the system failure, okay, that should be available. So that's why this type of properties, if it satisfies, then such database, we are talking about a good database. All the databases ensures that asset property and people are has to understand what is atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. Always remember the example, when the payment fails, the order food online, either fully transaction executed or not. So that is one thing. Like when you are working in some table, even small, this one, there is no adjustment. Isolation means if more than one people are working on the same table, same object, still there won't be no interference. And durability is nothing but if you want to store the data permanently, we can store the data permanently. That's called durability. So using certain commands. So this is how we are talking about the ACID properties. So quickly, so this is the first part of introduction we discussed. We try to understand. In tomorrow's sessions, we will get into the SQL part of it, and where we will try to understand much more the definition of this. So today's sessions is much more important for the people who are wants to start beginning with the database as a data analyst, data engineer, or a data science expert. For all these people, this foundation course for next 3 weeks is much more important in terms of learning. So with this note, we can conclude for today's session. And I think sharply after 3 minutes, we have another session for foundation for C programming. We can continue with that. Okay. Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.